Good afternoon, members of the media, wider viewing and listening public of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to this week's post-cabinet media conference. This being the last cabinet meeting for the year, the decision was taken that I will come here and wish the nation all of the very best over this happy and holy season of Christmas, and that we hope everyone, whilst participating in their festivities, continues to be safe and continue to be alert and these types of things. And we wish you all of the very best for Christmas. And then going into the new year, the first cabinet meeting will be on Friday, the 4th of January in the new year. So it's also an opportunity to wish the nation all of the very best for 2019. And then to allow the members of the media to ask me questions. Yes, you can proceed. Friday, the 4th of January will be the date that we'll meet on for our first cabinet meeting. There's no reason why it's not the 3rd. I certainly will not be engaging in festivities.
Can I follow up on a question that was raised earlier? From my understanding, the CEO of Udicot has resigned. Do you have any further information on that resignation? Why? What's next for Udicot?
No, as you had reached out to me yesterday, and let me correct you now, the movement of Udicot from the Minister of Housing, Udicot is now directly under the Prime Minister. It's not under the office of the Prime Minister. The way ministerial responsibilities and duties are given, they're given to the Minister via gazetting, so it's now with the Prime Minister himself. And yes, I understand that Mr. Barnes has resigned. I haven't seen his letter of resignation.
Does this have anything to do with the Red House completion date, which should have been completed by now, but
No.
a year ago you say November 2018?
My understanding is we're now looking for the completion of the Red House, hopefully by the first quarter, end of the first quarter of 2019. Significant progress has been made, and no, I don't think the resignation has anything to do with the delay in the completion of the Red House.
Concern with the Commissioner of Police meeting with Rudy Giuliani, given his very negative political and policing track record.
That's it?
Well, you can take, I will ask you.
Yes. You know this, yesterday at the graduation of 199 municipal police, I put down a very clear marker, and you've given me the opportunity to repeat it. I am very, very clear in what are the lines and roles and responsibilities of the Minister of National Security. And it's a very fine line, because one, you traverse too much. They say you're trying to influence the Commissioner of Police, and you're giving instructions to the Commissioner of Police, and you're not permitted to do that. As the Minister of National Security, all you're allowed to do is talk about policy and strategy and make sure that the various heads of agencies and the agencies are well resourced, etc. So in my daily conversation, because I speak to the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Griffith, many times throughout the day, yesterday morning he did mention to me, as you know he's in New York, that he was going to meet with Mr. Giuliani. And, you know, I just expressed some caution as to, you know, be careful with your meeting and don't make any commitment, etc. But if the Commissioner of Police saw it fit for him to pay a courtesy call on Mr. Giuliani, and I remember in a previous incarnation, Mr. Griffith, I think it was as Minister of National Security, had engaged in dialogue with the firm Giuliani. So I assume that is a continuation, and it was just a courtesy visit. And that was how the conversation ended. Yes, as a member of the government and as the Minister of National Security, I'm not going to bury my head in the sand. Mr. Giuliani has found himself surrounded in Washington, D.C. in some levels of controversy. So I do note with a level of concern what goes on all over the world, and that would be one of the issues that I see on a daily basis. That's two separate questions. So with respect to the murder toll, as I've said previously, every single crime, let alone murder, is of concern to me. In the meetings with the heads of security, which I have on a weekly basis, sometimes more than once a week, it is something that we've been discussing. The truth is this proliferation of murders, and the vast majority of them are illegal firearms being used. You will see on a daily basis that we are picking up more and more of the illegal firearms. One of the things, I've only been in this position for the past 4 months. May seem like a lot longer. One of the things that has been done recently is, and we've seen the results, an improvement on the border security. So that is one of the areas that we need to focus on, etc. So in the fight against crime, obviously the murder rate is one of the barometers that the public uses to measure. It is of extreme concern to me as the Minister of National Security and to the heads of all of the agencies. And we are doing our very best to deal with that. I hope 2019 will be a better year. With respect to the current season, I know the Ministry of National Security has put out a number of even social media videos, etc. The truth is, persons have to be very careful. I've seen yesterday on social media a video of a guy somewhere in Chaguanas, they say near to the Kiss factory, breaking the back window of a person's vehicle. These are the crimes that are taking place. What we've done at the national security level is we've asked both the TTPS, the Defense Force, to just step up the level of patrols, especially around the malls, the shopping areas, etc. I just ask people to continue to be very cautious, to be very careful, and be alert as to what is going on. I mean, there are instances of crime taking place, and we're doing what we can. We've stepped up the patrols and these types of things.
As you did mention border security, it reminds me of an article in today's papers that some 5 persons were charged regarding the sale of a baby, supposedly of Venezuelan nationality. I'm thinking, are we looking at a human trafficking ring? What are we looking at?
I haven't gotten a report on that particular incident, nor I'll admit to you I didn't focus on that article this morning. Out of the Ministry of National Security, one of the areas we are focused on is human trafficking. And we are looking to see how we can give more resources, work very closely with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and also intelligence agencies. And anytime we get any tip-offs on what may be potential human trafficking rings, etc., action is taken. So you will see from time to time immigration, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and intelligence-driven operations. They pick up a number of illegal immigrants, etc. And dishearteningly, sometimes it's a lot of younger women and these types of things. So we are focused on that area.
Efforts being ramped up during this Christmas season?
Well, I don't think there's any particular time of the year, really, that human trafficking, I don't think over Christmas it will be more human trafficking taking place than normal. So it continues to be on the radar.
A lot of activities at, public spaces, malls, etc.
But I don't understand the point you're trying to make.
Kidnappings or trafficking, could occur under the radar.
Well, human trafficking is persons being brought into our borders, all right, or persons being kidnapped on land and then an attempt to export them, or you link them into illegal activity, prostitution, and these types of things. Once we get notification of these instances, and quite often they're tip-offs, we will act on them. I don't think the Christmas season there's going to be an uptake, or there's any data to suggest that there's going to be an uptake over the Christmas season with respect to it. Persons need to be careful and continue to be careful and alert over the Christmas season, as you say, in the public spaces, etc.
So just my final question here. We've seen internationally Russia and Iran. Russia stated it intends to set up a military base on an island of Venezuelan territory, and also Iran did indicate that they would like to conduct some activities on Venezuelan waters. Is this of concern to us, given the type of activity planned, the types of vessels?
But first of all, I have no specific information that relating to either of those two things. Like you have seen suggestions in the international media But to say there's been any formal notification, obviously formal notification would not come to us, nor have I seen any direct supported stories apart from the 2 Russian aircraft which have been here previously, etc. It was mentioned last week. I was up in the U.S. State Department for meetings on the whole of Tuesday of last week. None of this came up, and I have not seen any supporting documentation to give it life or anything like that. And in particular on the Iran side, I'd seen some suggestion on social media again, and that sometimes nebulous space, that they were suggesting there were going to be warships from Iran here and doing exercises. But I haven't seen any of that gain life in a supported mainstream media way, but I could have missed it.
For formal notification, then for it to gain your attention.
Well, it's something that has absolutely nothing to do with Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, there's no suggestion it'll be in our waters, in our territorial airspace, etc. At this stage, I'm not sufficiently concerned, for example, to reach out to Venezuela or anywhere to say, I'm seeing these instances. You just don't interfere at a sovereign level. You don't interfere with what is going on in other person's space unless the intelligence suggests that it can be detrimental to Trinidad and Tobago. At that stage, I'll enter. But as I say, I haven't seen any supporting documentation for it or any supported stories in mainstream media. It reminds me of a few months ago, a video circulating, a YouTube video saying there were 30 ships and armada ships gathering off the coast of Grenada, and they were setting up, etc., etc. And there was a lot of hype about nothing. It wasn't real.
One of Rish's earlier questions, we've been hailing, social media's been hailing Gary Griffith as this hero who can rescue any kidnapped victim. But what we've also seen is an increase in kidnapped victims. Well, kidnapping, sorry. Have you also been noticing that there may have been an uptick in the amount of kidnappings, and have you been looking into it? What are your thoughts?
Okay, 2 things. One, again, data-driven, and statistically, I'm not sure there has been an uptick in kidnapping. But what I can tell you, and this preceded both Mr. Griffith and myself coming into our various positions, me as National Security and him as the Commissioner of Police, our intelligence services and our police services, etc., have been working on a number of things. So in a lot of those instances, they may be driven and not even on persons reporting to the police. All right? So there's a lot more of an intelligence web, is what I'm trying to tell you, covering. So you pick up, and some of those instances we're seeing are drug-related. All right? A lot of the instances, quite frankly, are drug-related with these recent kidnappings. And some of the efforts that are being made by our law enforcement in taking significant amounts of arms and ammunition and drugs off of the streets. But what you have to understand, the economics behind these drug deals. So even when the police come in and we seize significant quantums of drugs, somebody still has to pay the supplier for those drugs. And maybe some of what you're seeing is connected to that type of behavior. So apart from the Promenade kidnapping and some of the others, yes, we are concerned, but a lot of the intelligence-driven operations are bearing fruit.
Say that, and for years we've been saying that. We just say, oh, well, that's drugs. Oh, well, that's just gang-related. And we toss it aside and say, well, let them...
We are certain, I don't know what happened in years previously, but as Minister of National Security, that is not my attitude. Drugs are a serious scourge on Trinidad and Tobago, and certainly from where I sit, when I meet with the heads, it is an area that we're focused on.
Drugs. Can we talk more about this possible decriminalization of marijuana?
You'll need to speak to the Attorney General and Minister Hines, who are leading that charge.
But from a national security perspective, a lot of people are asking, does this now mean, will this legislation probably lean toward maybe releasing people who have already been charged? Are we looking at creating a whole new system to allow for a medical marijuana system?
Yeah.
Is there, you can speak for your part at least.
No, I can't. But what I'd like to say, and I've stood here many times before and said, let's not speculate. So I've heard the Attorney General say that he's gone out and started consultation with 100 bodies, persons, entities, etc. Let's wait for some of that to start coming back in and let us start having the discussion, because obviously there are a number of concerns with legislation. For it to be retroactive and have a retroactive effect, you have to have certain clauses in the legislation, special majority and these types of things, but I don't want to presuppose anything. I don't want to speculate. The Attorney General has said that is going to take up the first quarter of 2019. Let's wait and see where it leads to.
Get your thoughts on this touted one shot, one killed policy. Police Commissioner Gary Griffith did speak about it over the weekend.
Police Commissioner Gary Griffith and the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service have the full support of myself as Minister of National Security once they carry out their duties within the parameters of the law. I've said that over and over and over. If police officers come under fire from criminals, it is well within the law for police officers to return fire, not only to defend themselves as individuals, but also public safety. And if that's the realm that they're operating in, then they have my full support once you're operating within the parameters of the law. I've seen it suggested out there that police officers in instances should shoot for other body parts, etc., etc. I suspect in a gunfight, it just simply doesn't operate that way, because there's a lot coming at you. It's in a very short space of time. Anyone who's ever handled firearms, etc., knows that this concept of, well, shoot him in his foot, shoot him in his leg, etc., it just doesn't operate in that way. So if criminals go and they decide they're going to shoot at police officers or men and women in the defense force, etc., I would expect, and the law does provide, for them to protect themselves.
Serious question, as we talk about within the parameters of the law. Would you support, especially as we're talking about Mr. Giuliani, would you support a stop and frisk-esque policy in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, again, I saw the media reporting on some of the things that when he was Mayor Giuliani, that he implemented, etc. Again, I'm not going to speculate. That is not before me. No such policy has come up before us. The police have powers of stop and search. Once they do it within the parameters of the law, I think that is a good policy. And we're seeing some of the results of that within recent times. Picking up arms and ammunition off people they stop and search, and also illegal drugs.
Senator Corliss just talked about the rehabilitation of the Brian Lara Promenade and the urgent need to address this very important area in the capital
Correct.
city. Has the government thought about doing something to lift
That was raised this week, a couple of days ago. The first entity the entity that has responsibility for the Brian Lara Promenade, as far as I'm aware, is the Port of Spain City Corporation. So I think that question is best directed to them. Again, you're getting into the realm of speculation. You're saying they may not have the funds. They need to look at it. The Port of Spain City Corporation needs to look at it. They need to identify what needs to be done. There is a process. If they determine that there are rectification exercises that need to take place, renovative exercises, improvement, etc., there's a process. And I'm sure once it goes through that process, the support of the government is there. All right? Is that it?
Well, of course, this last back and forth that's been happening with the government and the opposition over telephone numbers being released. One of your colleagues has already embraced it wholeheartedly. Another one has taken a different, talking about Mrs. Webster Roy. Has this been discussed at cabinet level, how to move forward, what will happen going forward in terms of numbers?
It has not taken up any cabinet time, but as you all would know, my number was the second number to be released by that individual. The Prime Minister's, I believe, on the Friday night, mine on the Sunday. I can only tell you my personal experience. There has been an inundation of calls and messages, etc. A lot of persons falling into various different categories, some claiming to be ex-Petrotrin workers, and I say claiming because of course it is difficult for me to be able to verify when I'm getting messages and they start off by saying I'm an ex-Petrotrin worker in these circumstances. I've been engaging them saying please provide your name and your address, giving them my official email address to then send whatever their complaint is. So if I can help, I would assist, etc. There have also been a number of calls at various hours, including the wee hours of the morning, some with identifiable numbers, meaning the number comes up, some saying no caller ID, and these types of things. Personally, I am not changing my telephone number. This is something we just have to deal with. I think it was a very irresponsible and dangerous, potentially dangerous move by that individual. I've seen absolutely nothing from the opposition suggesting that they don't support it. In fact, I think yesterday he went and he released their numbers, etc. To me, it's all a PR stunt, and it's a very shallow PR stunt. And as a member of the government and holding the portfolio, one of the portfolios of which is national security, I just continue to press on and do my work and do what I have to do for Trinidad and Tobago. And I will continue to ignore them on whatever silly games they want to play.
To get messages to make you blush.
I am not getting into that area. I'll leave that for my colleague. All right, any other questions?
If they need to get into contact with you, what is if there's a protocol process as to...
With me, there's no protocol process. I mean, what you have happening, remember, someone like myself, you wear two hats. As a member of parliament, so as an MP representing Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, I wear a certain hat. I have a constituency office and email set up for that, so any of those complaints, but I very often would get it directly on my phone. There's no water in an area, etc., and I respond to it, telling them I'll do what I can, and then I do what I need to do with the authorities. Then, as Minister of National Security Communications, in the office of the Prime Minister, people would call, message, write, email, text, etc. about various areas. There needs to be some level of concern. I mean, persons may see it as a joke, persons may see it as being frivolous, persons may want to engage in that space. Well, look, this is how I have dealt with it, and these are the types of messages I get, etc. But there is a security element and a concern with it. There's no doubt about that. You all are all tech-savvy people. You all know about traceability, especially of smartphones and these types of things, the types of apps that are outside there. So I actually find it very, very irresponsible. But immature behavior, I expect nothing more.
That brings you back to Mr. Roger's meeting yesterday. He talked about getting control of the refinery and bringing back regular gas. Is there anything that you could add to that? Your government?
We had a 3-hour meeting yesterday. There was a lot of dialogue between OWTU and the government. The Prime Minister reiterated the government's position that the union, have first option on the refinery. Of course, the refinery is what would produce things like regular petroleum and these types of things, but it has to pass the rigors of a proper business proposal. We're not going to put the country back in a place where there is a risk of it having negative effects on the country. Petrotrin are working on a proposal. They say they're looking to partner with various private enterprises and entities, and the Prime Minister reiterated to them and even reiterated his position in his letter of September 18, which was made public, 2018, but ended the meeting by saying, look, I look forward to the receipt of your proposal, and once it can pass that step, you will continue to have the first option to proceed. But we did indicate that there is going to be an opening up to the world at large of an RFP process. If their proposal crosses those rigors of good business viability, etc., before that, great. But if not, I mean, up to the point that the RFPs are evaluated and something is found, the union continues to have that option and that first preference. All right? Thank you all very much. Thank you all for the last year of these post-cabinet media conferences and for the work that you all continue to do. And please do have a safe and enjoyable Christmas period.